The war between Russia and Ukraine has just taken a dramatic and unprecedented turn. For the first time since the conflict began, NATO airspace has been breached. Russian drones didn't just rain down on Ukrainian cities, they pushed further west and crossed into Poland. What happened next could redefine the tone of this conflict in the days and weeks ahead. In the early hours of Wednesday, September 10th, Russia launched yet another aerial assault against Ukraine, sending waves of drones across the border. That part was nothing new. These attacks happen almost daily now. In fact, just 3 days earlier, on September 7th, Russia carried out its largest aerial attack yet, launching more than 800 drones, missiles, and decoys in a single night. At least 4 people were killed, and residential areas, along with a government building in Kiev, were damaged. But the September 10th strike was different. Some of those drones didn't stop in Kiev or Lviv or any other Ukrainian city. They kept going further west. And by 1 a.m., Ukrainian monitors confirmed that several Russian Shahed drones had crossed into Poland, into NATO territory. Inside Ukraine, the attacks were devastating as usual. Explosions were reported across Kiev, Lviv, Lutsk, Kalish, and Vinnytsia. In Zhytomyr, 1 person was killed and businesses destroyed. In Cherkasy, homes, livestock, and power lines were damaged even after air defenses shot some drones down. But it was across the border in Poland where the night became historic. As the swarm approached, Ukrainian monitors began warning Polish civilians near the border to take shelter. Poland, however, has been preparing for years. It has invested heavily in defense, fortified its borders, and modernized its armed forces, anticipating that Russia might one day test it directly. Prime Minister Donald Tusk has been clear. The East Shield Project, Poland's system of barriers and automated defenses, was designed to make the border impassable. He said Poland is strong. Poland will be safe thanks to its own actions and its allies. That readiness paid off. As the drones crossed into NATO airspace, Poland scrambled fighter jets, activated radar systems, and brought air defenses online. Dutch F-35s assisted, and together, Polish and Allied warplanes shot the drones down. The armed forces operational. Command issued a rare midnight alert. Polish and Allied aircraft are operating in our airspace. Ground-based air, defense, and radar reconnaissance systems have reached the highest level of alert. Several airports, including Warsaw and Lublin, were closed temporarily, while residents in multiple regions were told to stay indoors. Initial reports varied on how many drones entered Polish skies, but Tusk later confirmed that 19 drones crossed the border. Some were destroyed in the air, though debris damaged at least 1 Polish home. Thankfully, no casualties were reported. Still, this was not a minor mistake. 1 drone straying across a border could be explained away as navigation error, but 19? That looks deliberate. In the past, stray drones have been spotted in Poland, Romania, Latvia, and Moldova, usually explained as accidental spillover. But this was different. A swarm flying deep into Poland. Officials across Europe quickly condemned the act. Polish President Karol Nawrocki called an emergency security briefing. Defense Minister Władysław Kosiniak-Kamysz confirmed he was in constant contact with NATO command. And Tusk labeled the attack a large-scale provocation, emphasizing, "This is the first time Russian drones have been shot down over NATO territory. All our allies are taking this very seriously." Authorities launched recovery operations to locate drone debris, while residents were warned via text message to report, but not approach any fallen parts. Leaders across Europe rallied behind Poland. Sweden's prime minister called the incursion unacceptable. Latvia's president wrote of full solidarity with Poland, and Norway's foreign minister reaffirmed NATO unity. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky went further, warning that this was an extremely dangerous precedent. He said, "This was not an accident. At least 8 drones flew toward Poland. Moscow is testing boundaries, and if it does not meet a strong reaction, escalation will continue." In Washington, the White House stayed quiet at first, but U.S. lawmakers spoke out immediately. Congressman Joe Wilson declared, "This is an act of war." Senator Dick Durbin warned, "Putin is testing our resolve to protect Poland and the Baltics." Russia, meanwhile, denied deliberate wrongdoing. Belarus quickly claimed the drones had lost navigation, blaming electronic warfare interference. Moscow later issued a carefully worded statement, insisting it had no plans to target Poland, but stopped short of outright denial. Russian state media even floated conspiracy theories that the incursion was a Ukrainian false flag. Experts, however, dismissed the idea of 19 drones accidentally going astray. Former U.S. defense official Jim Townsend summarized, "One drone is a mistake. Multiple drones is not. For many, this looks like a test, an intentional probe of NATO's defenses and unity. And the timing is no coincidence. Just days earlier, Vladimir Putin stood alongside Xi Jinping and Kim Jong-un at a military parade in Beijing, projecting confidence and unity with Russia's allies. Now, Russia and Belarus are about to launch Zapad 2025, their biggest annual military exercise involving around 13,000 troops and participation from countries like North Korea, Iran, and China. NATO analysts warn that such drills often mask more dangerous moves. Along the alliance's eastern flank, Poland has already announced that it will close its border with Belarus ahead of the exercises. But with Russian drones already striking inside its territory, tensions are on another level. Prime Minister Tusk has made it clear. Poland is considering invoking Article 4 of the NATO treaty, which would bring the issue before the North Atlantic Council. That means NATO allies would have to debate whether Poland's security has been directly threatened. Tusk told Parliament, "This provocation is far more dangerous than anything we have faced before. This is not just a war for Ukrainians. Russia has declared confrontation against the free world. The days ahead will be tense. For the people of Poland, it's a new reality. Russian drones in their skies, thousands of troops massing just across the border, and the looming question of how NATO will respond. For NATO leaders, the challenge is even bigger. A weak response risks emboldening Moscow further. A strong one could escalate the war into something far more dangerous. One thing is clear. The line between Russia's war in Ukraine and a direct confrontation with NATO has never been thinner.